Hello and welcome to this edition of the Mentors Masterclass, where we bring you cool conversations with the world's most inspiring and successful entrepreneurs. I'm super excited today. I've got a fantastic guest on with me today. Neil Patel is the co-founder of Crazy Egg and Hello Bar. He helps companies like Amazon, NBC, GM, HP, and Viacom grow their revenue. The Wall Street Journal calls him a top influencer on the web, and Forbes says he's one of the top 10 online marketers. Entrepreneur magazine says he created one of the 100 most brilliant companies in the world. He's recognized as a top 100 entrepreneur under the age of 30 by President Obama, and one of the top 100 entrepreneurs under the age of 35 by the UN. Neil's also been awarded congressional recognition from the United States House of Representatives. Neil, that's a glowing endorsement, wonderful accolades for sure. Thanks for joining us on the call today. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So I wonder, before I hop into some questions, if you could just share with us a bit of your story. You're a highly successful entrepreneur at a very young age. So could you share with us a bit of your story, your journey over the last number of years?
Sure. So my family, immigrants. I was born in London. We migrated to Orange County, California when I was around 2 years old. And not the part that most people know about with the water, but North Orange County, which is away from the water. And my first job was at a theme park. I was picking up trash and cleaning restrooms. And as a kid, I wanted to make more money. You see people around you who have nice things, and I wanted that stuff. I didn't realize that money doesn't really make you happy, but at the time when I was a kid, I thought it would. So I was looking for a job. I couldn't find one, a high-paying job. And while I was on the internet looking for a job, I was using monster.com. I found out how they were making hundreds of millions of dollars. So as a kid, because didn't have a college degree, I was like, you know what? If I create a replica site of monster.com and I make 1% of what they make, I'll be rich. I'll be a millionaire. I created a website. And when I put up the website, I got no traffic. I was like broken, right? I was like, what the heck is happening? No one's coming to my website. At that point, I learned about marketing. And this is when I was around 16 years old. I was a bit naive, but that's life. You live and learn. So I took all the money that I saved from working at the amusement park. I paid a marketing firm. They took all my money. And out of being frustrated and being broke, I had no choice but to learn online marketing. I got pretty good at it. My website started to rank on Google for competitive terms, and the visitors started to roll in. But as the visitors started to roll in, there was one thing that happened. No one was buying anything. I didn't know how to make money from a website. I was just good at driving the traffic. So I decided, I was book smart as a kid. So I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna finish college early. If I get a start on it while I was in high school, maybe, I can graduate college in 2 years instead of the 4 or 5 that most people take. So I started to take nighttime college classes when I was in high school. And my first class was Speech 101. I gave a speech on how Google works and how to market your business on Google. And one of the guys in there, Steve, he said, hey, I work for this company called LPAC. And LPAC was a power supply manufacturer, right? Like, the Boeing airplanes, power supplies, the heart resuscitators when your heart stops beating. They provide the power supplies for all these things. And he says, my company's looking for someone like you. And I'm like, I'm only 16 years old. Do you think they're interested in hiring me? So at the age of 16, they started paying me around $5,000 a month. And I thought I was rolling in the dough, right? Little kid making $5,000 a month. That's good money. But little did I know, I was making LPAC an additional $25 million a year in sales.
Wow.
And that's how my career started. So the founder of LPAC had a son. The son owned an ad agency. He hooked me up with Countrywide, which is now Bank of America, and Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I was a little kid and business was booming. I remember cashing my first check, like, who should we make it out to? And I made up my own corporate name. I was like, Neil Patel Inc. And little did I know that you actually have to file for incorporation. And it was funny. I remember when I was picking a corporation, I'm like, oh, I want my name, Neil Patel Inc. You get the Inc. status from incorporating. You can't put Inc. at the end of your corporate name, right? But I was a young kid. I didn't know much. I did all right, made some money, and I kept expanding from there. But that's how I got my start.
Very cool. So it started with learning how to drive traffic and just expanded from there.
That's correct.
And you're primarily self-taught, like you learned a lot of these skills on your own, just doing research and through books and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I learned mainly from doing more than anything else in this life.
Wow, that's awesome. So somewhere along the way, I imagine you probably had some mentors who may have played a role. Who have been some of your biggest mentors on your journey, and what role have they played?
Yeah, there's been quite a few. There was one guy named Andy Liu. He taught me a lot about business. He's done a few internet sites. Like one of them was I Can Has Cheeseburger. He's had a few successful exits. One of his companies sold to Quanta, which is now Microsoft. And when I was a little kid, I was speaking at a conference. I don't even think I was 21 at the time. And I met Andy. He was in the audience, and he was just giving me feedback. And he's like, you know what? Why don't you come to Seattle, advise one of my companies, I'll give you some equity. And he was teaching me about fundraising, how to negotiate, strike deals, etc. But I've had quite a few mentors. Most of them are in the state of Washington. And they're really kind. I remember when I was around 23 years old, my mentors were just like, why don't you come to Seattle? And I'm like, I'd love to. I'm just too cheap to pay for the rent. They even paid for my first place, so I don't have to pay for rent. And then I remember when I bought my first home, Andy negotiated it for me. I didn't even see the home until after I bought it. But he negotiated and did all the diligence for me. So great.
Nice. I bought my first new vehicle, new to me anyway, sight unseen, and I remember a friend of the family scolding me for buying it sight unseen. I've never heard of anybody buying their first home sight unseen, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I know you started a cool project here in the last year called the $100,000 Challenge. Could you share a little bit about that project and how it's going so far? I know you're not quite a year into it now, and
Almost.
I'm curious to see how that's going.
Yeah, I think we just finished month 10. Roughly 10 months ago, I was telling my blog readers, I'm like, you know what? Because I get emailed every single day. One of the biggest emails I get is, Neil, can you give me money? I'm struggling by far. And I rarely ever give people money unless it's like a good cause or I really believe their story. So I decided to do a challenge around 10 months ago. I'm like, you know what? Pick anything you want me to start. I'll create a business that generates $100,000 a month in income within 12 months without using my name. That's the tough part, right? And without using my resources and my money. But I was telling people that I'm like, it's not hard to create a business that does 1.2 million bucks a year. So what I decided to do was I created a site. The audience, the blog readers, you and everyone else told me to create a nutrition business. I don't know shit about nutrition, as you probably can guess. And it's been going well. We just finished up our 10th month, and in our 10th month, I don't know what the numbers were. I think we did what, $70-something thousand in revenue?
That sounds right, yeah.
So something like that. But it's growing fast. I think we'll hit 100 either in February or March at the latest, but we should hit the number.
So you're on track to hit your goal.
That's right.
Very
what I
cool.
actually want to do is, after I'm done with the experiment, is saying, all right, now let's see how fast I can grow a business by spending money. Dumping a few $100,000 into it and see what happens.
Do the comparison model.
That's right.
With the second one, do you get to put your name behind it as well, or just your resources?
My resource, I want to put my name behind it. I don't want to be branded as someone in the nutrition space.
Yeah. So the second one, you think you'll do a nutrition space one as well?
I think I can just take the same site and make it grow 10 times faster.
Okay. I'll be watching that for sure. Do you know, have any of the followers, have they followed in your footstep? Are there any of your regular readers who are implementing all the things you're teaching?
Yeah, there's a few, and then within the last time, none of it have hit as much revenue as I have, but I'm proud of a lot of my readers. Some of them hit like $30,000 a month in income, which is good. That's $360,000 a year. You can survive anywhere in the world with that kind of money.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great that people are able to replicate what you're doing.
Yeah, it's not hard to sell products on Amazon and make them popular.
Very cool. That's a good tip. You mentioned here just a minute ago that you get contacted all the time, people asking for money or looking for help. When they're not asking for money, what kind of questions do you get on a regular basis about entrepreneurialism or how somebody can be more successful? What's the common questions you get, and what's your best advice for somebody looking to start their own business or build a business online?
Yeah, I get questions all over the board. like I had a mother the other day who owns a bed and breakfast, and she was telling me, "Hey Neil, I own a bed and breakfast. It's somewhere in the Midwest. I don't know where." But she was saying, "I own a bed and breakfast. My son works at Home Depot. He wants to go to college, but he needs to work to support my bills and help me out." And she's a single mother, and she's like, "How do I grow my bed and breakfast?" So like with her, I taught her how to get listed in the Google local listings, you know, the maps,
Yep.
get more reviews on the Yelps and sites like that. And her business is booming. Is she rich? No, but she's rich enough where her son doesn't have to work at Home Depot anymore and he can go to college. So for me, that made me happy. But I get random questions. It's usually related to how do I grow my business?
And something as simple as just getting her business listed on Google Maps made a big difference.
That's correct. See,
And
these days, when people think about marketing, they try to think about the sexy stuff, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the Twitters. And yeah, but you know what? That shit doesn't make as much money as just getting on Google and ranking #1. When someone searches on Google, bed and breakfast, hotels, whatever it may be, they're searching with intent. When someone's on Facebook or Instagram or any of these social sites, it's not intent based. And that's why the conversions are a lot lower. That's also why advertising is much cheaper on Facebook than it is on Google, right?
it's not as effective. People are there to socialize, not they're not in the buying phase of the cycle.
That's correct. Well, when they're on Google, they're in the buying phase. It's a huge.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, and I imagine a lot of small businesses, traditional brick and mortar businesses, a lot of them, for one, don't even have a website, but two, the ones that do don't know just the basic things like that, just getting their business listed on Google so that they show up on a map, on a local search.
That's correct.
So there's huge opportunity there. What opportunities do you currently see online that maybe is an untapped niche that people are, or maybe it's a new trend that there's a lot of opportunity in? Where do you see things going online?
There's education. It's huge. I remember I was talking to a lady yesterday. She's in prenatal care. So she was talking about how she teaches something about classes and pregnancy, or I don't know, something like that. She's like, "Yeah, I spend $400 on Facebook ads a month and I'm making around $19,000 a month." And I was like, "What are you doing? Why aren't you spending 5 times that then? Your margins are there." And she's like, "Oh, okay, I'll consider ramping up." But there's revenue opportunities everywhere. I think education is a big place, big space. It's moving away from the universities. Even if you look at like the online universities, like University of Phoenix, you saw a pivot in which universities were in major cities. And University of Phoenix first started off as, hey, why can't universities be in convenient locations? So along the side of a freeway or whatever it may be, they started that way. And then from there, Apollo Group, which owns University of Phoenix, they said, why can't it be online and more convenient for people, right? And now education's changing all over again. They're saying, why do I have to even go to college? Why can't I just learn online? Why can't I buy specialty courses? Universities across the whole world, Australia, US, Canada, England, whatever it may be, a lot of them teach my material in their college classes, mainly marketing classes. Almost all the major universities do. And I look at the materials and how they're teaching students how to market using my own stuff, and they're teaching my material wrong. And there's people spending an arm and a leg. I remember someone the other day, he was just like, hey, I'm at a class. I'm like, what school are you going to? He's like, Stanford. He's like, I learned a lot about your marketing at Stanford. And I was like, that's cool. How much are you paying for Stanford? And I think he said like over 30 or something $1,000 a year, or 60,000 or whatever the tuition is. I'm like, you could have gone to my blog and read it all and learned it all for free.
Could have had it all for free. Yeah, and there's no doubt with the internet, information's out there. The challenge sometimes is sifting through it and deciding what's accurate or what's, it sounds like even your material is being twisted or used improperly by universities. So what's a way to overcome that, to find the correct information? I know certainly people can go to your blog and get the right information direct from the source, but how do you get around all the information that's out there? That's one of the complaints I hear from people that are trying to build a business online, is just that they get lost in the sea of information and they end up analysis paralysis, and they can't get moving because there's just so much information they don't know where to start.
Yeah, well, it comes down to social media and learning what other people think about stuff. So the beautiful part about social media is you get the community all collaborating and saying, this book is awesome, or this product is awesome, or this resource is awesome. For example, you want to know what Bill Gates is learning? Bill Gates talks about the books he is reading currently, right? Or at least he used to on social media. You can learn anywhere you are in the world. There's no excuse. You don't have to be in a major city. You don't have to have a ton of money. And the beautiful part about the social web is people together come and they're leaving their opinions, their feedback, their reviews. You take that data, you aggregate it, and now you have a rough understanding of, hey, this book has 1,000 reviews and people say it's amazing and it'll help their business with marketing or setting up a corporation the right way, corporate entities, whatever it may be. And now you can figure out how you can learn and take that knowledge and adapt it to your business without wasting time, because the community is telling you what's valuable and what's not.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's, I see the trend shifting a little bit from the traditional model of even school, elementary and high school grades. I see a lot more people homeschooling these days, a lot more online schooling. Virtual schools seem to be very popular. I know that's one of the models we're looking into. We've got 2 kids that right now are in a small private school here close to home that's been very good. It happens to have an entrepreneurial program in it and teaching languages and things like that we really like, and it's close to home, so it's working for now. But we are looking into other options, homeschooling and virtual school, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to see that the information is out there if you're willing to do the research.
And it's also just learning too. I remember people were asking me, I'm somewhat book smart, right? And people are asking me like, hey, how'd you get book smart? What'd your parents do that was right or wrong or whatever it may be? Logic, schooling and education is really simple. Kids go to school for roughly 3 months. 9 months out of the year, 3/4. 3 months they have roughly vacation. You go to school, you learn for 9 out of 12 months. My parents, during my summer holidays or vacations, right, schooling vacations or breaks, they gave me extra homework for the year in advance. So for every 3 years someone else was being educated, people in my age group, I was getting 1 extra year. So for every 3 years of education they got, I got an extra year. Because every 3 years, right, 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, that adds up to 9 months. So that's how I was ahead.
Yeah.
Down to just putting more time and energy into just educating and teaching kids.
It's all about putting in the time. It makes me think of Malcolm Gladwell's book Outliers, and how he talks about the 10,000 hours to become an expert in your field, and the people that excel, whether it's professional athletes or actors that are famous, or anybody really that excels in their line of work. It's because they put in the time.
That's right. And I believe Gladwell actually talks about how a lot of the kids who do really well, it's their parents are teaching them during the off time, right?
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, he also even talks about athletes, and a lot of the reasons why some athletes are successful is because of the time of the year that they were born. Because you have more time compared to the other people in the same age group, so you have a better chance of being more successful at the sport that you're in, whether it's basketball, football, or hockey, or etc.
Yeah, that was the one of the big takeaways for me when I read the book, or listened to it on audio actually. But it was interesting to me that how he, through his stats and doing his research, he discovered that a lot of the elite athletes were just born at the right time of year, so they happened to be the older kids in their age group for that particular sport. So they were a little bigger and faster maybe than the rest. So then they got bumped up to the higher caliber teams, which practiced more, had more training camps and that sort of thing. They just got more time to practice, and it made all the difference.
Yeah, it makes the world of difference. And people don't get those things. They think it has to always be natural ability. And sure, that has some part in it, but there's a lot of other factors that result in someone's success or failure.
Yeah, I went to high school with a guy. He was actually in my brother's grade. He ended up making the NHL to play hockey professionally. And I remember him, he would go to 5:30 in the morning practices, drive half an hour. His dad would take him to practice in the morning. He'd go to practice before school and then come to school, and then he'd have practice or games every night of the week. And, you know, everybody thought he was just naturally talented, but they never thought to factor in all the hours of practice and training that he was putting in that made him an elite athlete.
That's
that
right.
part played a huge role for sure.
It does. It's so funny too. I was reading an article on Forbes the other day, and I was talking about the most wealthiest people in the NFL. Can you guess who the most wealthiest people are in the NFL? If you had a guess, other than the owners.
Usually the quarterbacks,
Yes.
I believe, are the highest players, but I'm interested to hear what you found out.
So the average NFL player only lasts till they're 26 or 27. The majority of the players that get paid really well are usually above 29 or 20, like 28, 29, 30 years old. Their careers don't last that much longer at that point. And yeah, sure, there's some endorsements. But you know, when they were doing the averages and the numbers, you know who gets paid the most? Coaches, by far.
Really?
They're there the longest. They play really well. It's consistent money.
When you average it out.
It does. And you know who also does really well? Kickers. Because kickers sometimes can play till they're like 40 years old.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I've noticed too. The kickers are, they're the highest point getting player on the team.
That's correct.
Because they get 3 or 6 or 9 points a game kind of thing. And most other players maybe catch a touchdown a game at most.
Yeah,
so yeah, it's a big difference. And they play a long time. You're right.
Yes.
That's interesting.
More money than most NFL players by far. It's not. It's
never
not
considered that.
Yeah,
that's cool. So that just goes to show you that persistence and longevity pays off if you stick with something long enough.
Yeah.
What is there something you could pinpoint that you did in your first year of business that really made the difference for you? I know. Well, you talked a little bit in your bio or in your intro there that it was a progression. Once you started your own business, though, was there one thing that really made the difference for you that launched your career?
Yeah, I was regressive. I was like, I would rush home from school while I was high school, 16 years old. I would get home by 3 o'clock. From 3 to 5 p.m., because that's the only hours that were left in the day that most people would answer their phone, I would cold call companies and pitch them on paying me to do their marketing. And it sounds crazy, but at 16, the story's pretty public. I was doing around $20,000 a month because I was picking up the phone and trying to convince people to spend money with me. And my pitch was really simple. It was just pure mathematics. Because through Google, they would give you traffic estimation tools. And they say, look, I noticed that you're spending money on these keywords on Google advertising. Here's how much money you're spending. You're spending $15,000 a month. Let me do your marketing. I'll rank you organically. 70+% of the clicks go organically. Those videos are better. And you know, I'll do it for $5,000 a month. And I was just picking up the phone and dialing, and I would get shot down every day for weeks and weeks at a time. But I got lucky every once in a while. Like I remember I locked in a company called, is it InfoSpace Media or something like that? And they were paying me $15,000 a month. I was stoked. I was 16 years old. I was like, this is good money.
Yeah, no kidding.
Not everything was good. I also lost all the money I made too, right? Which is a whole different story. But my whole career, my journey wasn't all fruitful. Nonetheless, I just hustled. I picked up the phone. I called. I did whatever it took to succeed to get out of the life that I was living, right? Because we weren't poor, but we were middle class, and I wanted a better life for myself and my parents.
That's fantastic. I never would have expected that cold calling was the secret, but that just goes to show the hustle. You know,
Before that,
one of the things I keep hearing over and over is that the key to success is just getting all in and making things happen. You know, you can't really dabble in something and be successful at it. You got to jump in with both feet and go for it and take massive action.
Of course, that's why entrepreneurs who succeed usually only do one business at a time, right? Because you have to put all or nothing. There's not enough time in the day to do more than one business. Elon Musk is an exception to the rule, right? Tesla, SpaceX, Solar City, PayPal. His first company, I think, sold to Compaq for over 100 million as well. He did quite well. But there's very few exceptions to the rule. You have to go in, you know, knee deep. You have to put everything that you have into one business and make it work. And the moment you try to dilly-daddle and do multiple things and your priorities aren't set straight, you're not going to succeed. And it's the reality.
Yeah, one of my mentors, Harv Eker, he talks about multiple streams of income, but one at a time. Get them rolling and then move on to something else. And I'm sure Elon Musk, as much as he's into a number of things, his focus was building on Tesla.
Well,
He'd put his focus into one thing at a time, I'm sure.
he also put 100 million bucks of his own money into his own businesses, right? Money does buy time.
Yeah, true enough. And I saw something, whether it was just a meme online, how much accuracy there was to it, but I believe it was when he sold PayPal, as he took all that money and he reinvested it.
Yeah,
And
that was the money he put into Tesla and SpaceX.
right.
Elon at one point ran out of money because it's tied up. Everyone thinks, oh, you're rich, right? But when you're rich, it's not necessarily mean you're liquid, because sometimes it's tied up in hedge funds and they got lockup periods, etc. And I remember there was even articles talking about how he was sleeping on his friend's couch. It wasn't that he was poor, it's just money tied up, or, I could be inaccurate, but family issues or whatever it may be. But brilliant entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. Tesla, the Model S is on my vision board up here in the wall in the office. Beautiful looking car. And I love that he's not competitive with his technology. He's put it out there in open source so that it can be improved on. And he's out there to change the world, and he's doing it one step at a time and looking for better technologies, but he's inviting collaboration. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, look, even the Hyperloop, right? There's two companies now doing the Hyperloop instead of one. He put out his data out there, and that's fine. But if the Hyperloop does exist and it works, it'll make transportation more efficient for everyone around the world. And sure, we're not going to see it in the US first because of our government regulations, but nonetheless, it'll probably be in the Middle East or Asia or somewhere. But hey, you know what? The ideas that are coming out of his head will impact the world. The future generations will live life differently because of him.
Yeah, I think we're on the cusp of some real major breakthroughs in technology and just changing up the model of kind of the status quo or the old industrial age thinking and everything from industry to technology to transportation. All those pieces are changing rapidly.
Yeah, and if you look at the revolution, right? Like back in the days when we had World War II and in the early 90s, there was times we went through a whole manufacturing period, we went through a whole computer revolution, now we're in a whole information revolution. But if you look at the times gaps of these revolutions that have impacted the US economy and have helped us succeed, they're getting shorter and shorter. Like we're in the information age right now. And if you look at the time spans before the next revolution, it's quite a bit shorter than it was, 60, 70, 80 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. What do they say that the information available on the planet doubles? Something ridiculous, like almost daily or something like that. It's just there's so much information available now.
Yeah. Look what companies like Google doing, right? Google's trying to give away notebooks for free to kids in developing countries so that way they can have education. Like these guys are brilliant. They're going to change the world. On top of that, now you have more people using Google. You're buying more time, in which 10 years from now, these kids will be using Google, clicking on the ads, and they'll also generate income from it as well.
Yeah, they're definitely planting the seeds that are going to reap the harvest later.
That's correct.
So I want to honor your time. I really appreciate you coming on today, Neil. It's great to have this chat and to learn more about what you're up to. One of my mentors said, you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. I actually carry it around on a little card in my back pocket. It's a laminated card. It's really getting tattered. I need to print another one. But what's one thing that you're working on that I can help you with? Where can people come and see more of what you're doing, check into your projects, all the things you're working on? How can we help you?
Yeah, so I released a new webinar. You can check it out at neilpatel.com and then go from there. So I would probably just say it gives a lot of free information on marketing and growing your business or just education in general. And if you want to learn more for free, go to neilpatel.com.
Awesome. So make sure you go to neilpatel.com. Check out what he's up to. He's doing some great things in the world and giving away some massive value too. So there's great things to learn there. And you'll probably learn a few of his stories a little further in depth as well, which is is always awesome. It's great to see entrepreneurs doing great things in the world. Neil, I really appreciate you coming on today, and I look forward to speaking to you again sometime soon. I'll make sure I get you a link to this video so you can share it with your audience as well. And I hope you have a fantastic day. All the best.
You too. Take care.
Thanks, Neil.
Bye.